ask about the Republican commitment to cut $100 billion from domestic discretionary spending and now scale that back to closer to $50 billion. Is that achievable? Is $50 billion achievable?
Well, we'll have to see, because as you well know, when they were pressed during the campaign to describe exactly what they planned to cut to achieve what had been a $100 billion goal, they didn't do it. And so we're now going to have to see what they propose with respect to $50 billion. I think what we're seeing here, though, is reality catching up with some of the pledges they had been made, because it's one thing to talk about budget cuts in the abstract, that we're just going to slash the budget. It's another thing altogether when you're talking about cutting early education, or when you're cutting college grants, or when you're cutting research at the NIH to find cures and treatments to cancer. So these are the real world consequences of some of these budget cuts, and I think that's what they're grappling with now.
Congressman, there's much talk about divisions within Republicans in the House, Tea Party and others. What are the divisions within the Democrats in the House?
Well, we've always been a raucous and rowdy caucus, Charlie, as you know. We've got a great diversity of opinion within the caucus. We have different groups. We've got the Blue Dogs, the New Dems, the Progressive Caucus. But we have been able to unite on core issues of jobs and the economy, and I expect that that will continue in the days ahead.
And the relationship with the White House?
The relationship with the White House has been very strong over the last 2 years, and I expect that will continue. Obviously, like us, the White House is going to have to deal with the fact that you now have a Republican majority in the House, and I'm sure that, like the Democrats in the House, they will look for those opportunities where they can find common ground, but they're also going to be very clear about pursuing their principles and their priorities. So, look, I think we're all in for a very interesting period of time.
Some Democrats read the election results not only as a repudiation of health care or a vote against health care and a vote against a number of other issues that they saw as a perception of the president, but also as a vote against Speaker Pelosi. Yet Democrats chose to re-elect her as their leader.
Well, I think, Charlie, that it's been pretty clear from a lot of the exit polls that were done in the election that the overriding issue was the fact that people are frustrated and impatient with the lack of progress on the economy. That even though the president, and I think with help from the Congress, was successful at stopping the free fall in the economy, when you've got 9.5% unemployment, when you've got so many Americans who are either been out of work or know somebody close to them who's been out of work, that uncertainty led to the results.
A highly respected Democrat told me over the holidays that the House and the Democratic Party failed to appreciate that the election of 2010 was a national election, that you made it an election of individual congresspeople, and that was a mistake.
Well, Charlie, I think we recognize that this was going to be a national election. What we struggled to try and do was turn that national election from a referendum on the folks who were in charge into a choice. And we tried to spell out very clearly the differences between what Republicans stand for and what Democrats stand for. We tried to explain that, you know, the economy was in a hell of a bad shape the day the president was sworn in and the new Congress was sworn in. And we tried to point out and argue that their policies were not going to get us out of this mess. But look, understandably, people were less interested in how we got into the mess, and they also seemed to be less focused on some of our policy prescriptions for getting out of this mess. They were registering their dissatisfaction with the status quo, the immediate moment, and that's understandable, and that's, you know, what House elections are. It's taking the temperature of the country at a particular moment in time, and we were the guys in charge, and now it's our responsibility to try and work with the Republicans where possible, but make clear our differences where they exist.
Congressman, picking up on Charlie's question about President Obama, what are you looking for the president to say in the State of the Union on the 25th of January? And specifically, how bold do you think he'll be on things like the deficit? Do you think he'll embrace Simpson Bowles, or what do you anticipate?
Well, again, as you know, that's one of the most closely held secrets in Washington, exactly what the president's going to say. Even those of us in the House who have had the pleasure of working with the president are not privy to those details. But here's what I hope, Al. I do hope he will lay out a pretty clear and bold vision about where we need to go to get the economy back in full gear, get Americans back to work, and put our country on a fiscally sustainable footing going forward. And so I hope that he will use the Bowles-Simpson Commission, the president's his own debt and deficit reduction commission, as an example of how we can put a lot of ideas on the table that need to be considered in an open and fair manner, that we should come to the table open-minded about a lot of these ideas and not immediately say, well, that's a sacred cow, and so we're not going to touch it. That being said, I'm sure and hope that he will remain true to the principles that he first ran on 2 years ago. And, you know, a big part of that was making sure we invest as we need to do in a clean energy strategy, that we invest in education, and we have the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind up, and that needs some changes, and that we're going to protect the integrity of programs that provide people with economic and health security, like Medicare, like Social Security, and now the new health care reform law that is going into effect.
Congressman Hollen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you.
Happy birthday, Charlie.
Thank you.